Oh, howdy. Good afternoon, good evening, good night. I don't know, whatever time of day it is for you when you're watching this. As I'm recording this, it is, or streaming this, whatever language you want to use, it is Tuesday, September 24th of 2024. So 9/24/2024, and I'm facing sticker shock. But yeah. Anyway, let's get some other stuff out of the way. Hey, Snarky Jugglasses, good to see you guys. Really appreciate you being here. Just a reminder for channel members, and that'd be people who have guest or gifted memberships, and people who are long-term members. I am doing a live stream chat for channel members on Sunday. I'm thinking 11. Hey, Marie's here. Good to see you, Marie. I'm doing a live stream chat on Sunday. I'm thinking 11 a.m. And if you are a channel member, you will have access to the StreamYard studio, and you can come on camera or come on with audio and pepper me with questions or comments or concerns or whatever the case might be. But yeah, Chad Catter's here. But that's Sunday, once again, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. I will be getting that set up for members only here sometime in the next day or two. That is not a gimmick to get more people to become channel members, but if it's enough to motivate you to become a channel member, I would be thankful. But it is something that I set out to do from the beginning, and I wanted to do it for you guys. And if I ever do release the chat, it will be contingent upon what kind of things we talk about and how everybody feels about it, and it will not be for months and months and months and months and months. But as of right now, I don't have any plans to release the chat, and I don't even know what we're going to talk about. That's going to be kind of up to you guys. And we're doing it for my birthday, so that's my birthday gift to you guys. But yeah, so in the meantime, since I brought up channel memberships, if you haven't joined the channel yet, haven't picked a level of Act Localist to be part of, would love to have your support. You can become a recruit, or you can do like the inestimable Jugglasses has done and has stepped it up to journeyman level, an Act Localist journeyman. It's a phenomenal way to help me keep things going, and it helps me keep the internet on, it helps me keep the electricity on, it helps me with equipment, so that I don't have to stress out too much about those three things. And with what I'm about to share with you, you'll understand why what I do is very hard, because this is malfeasance like I have never seen before, and I know it's people are gonna argue that it's not really malfeasance, it's just the way it goes. But yeah, anyhow, that's what we're doing. Let's see. You know what? You guys do this to me every time. I want to be all cool with my fancy shades, and then I can't see anything. So we're switching up. Hey, Sarah's here. No, you didn't miss anything yet. Sarah just started. But oh, that's the other thing I was going to talk about. Just for those of you that are interested, should be live streaming to my channel. Hi, Stephanie. We should be live streaming to my channel tonight. My next episode with Skipper on Veteran Nation, and we're going to be having Minnesota's U.S. Senate candidate Rebecca Whiting on. Rebecca is a two-time decorated combat veteran who served during the troop surge in Iraq, Fallujah being one of those places, the Sydney Triangle area. She was in the thick of it, and she is now running for U.S. Senate to unseat Amy Klobuchar and to keep Royce White out of the office. He is the Republican, Amy Klobuchar is the Democrat. Klobuchar is a war hawk. She loves to bomb people in other countries and wage slave taxpayer dollars on killing people in other countries and putting American troops in harm's way. So there's that. I said what I said. But yeah, she's on tonight, and that's 8 o'clock Central tonight. And those of you that haven't checked out the other content, oh hey, my STDs are finally in. I love saying that. Those of you that haven't checked out the other channel content, the last 2 days I've done a couple of really important streams. Well, actually yesterday and today I did a stream about Angry Vet. So if you haven't subscribed to Angry Vet's channel, please head over to Angry Vet and support him. He is looking at, he got a conviction, and he's looking at 40 years in penitentiary for felony wiretapping his own appointment at the VA clinic. And we're also setting up some support for Chase Johnston's family while he's looking at doing 10 years in prison. And I'm not here to brook anybody defending Chase being locked up. We can have all sorts of conversations about Chase's tactics. We can have all sorts of conversations about Chase maybe learning to keep his cool. We can have conversations about whether or not the decoy was 16 or not, and whether or not it's illegal for a 40-year-old to have relations with a 16-year-old in Minnesota. We can have those conversations. If you really want to dig down into it, we can have conversations about whether or not a 40-year-old man should be meeting a 16-year-old boy for intimate relations and offering to get them high. We can have those conversations. But we're also going to have the conversation that 40-year-old man who wanted to meet with a 16-year-old decoy is a level 3 convicted sex offender. We can have a conversation. More than happy to have that conversation with you. I don't have a problem having that discussion. I would love for you to defend that. Defend it. And tell me why it's A-okay. And if your argument is, well, it's not okay, but it's not illegal, and Chase deserves to do 10 years in prison, if that's your argument, slimiest of slime balls, and I would say it to your fucking face. I said it. I will say it to your face. Come at me. Come find me and say it to my face. Tell me I'm wrong for defending Chase. Because I don't think any of you really get down to brass tacks. Ain't no one of you really wants to tangle with me. Don't kid yourselves. I'm not a pacifist. I'm a non-aggressionist. But come get in my face. Bring it. Dela Lund, I don't know Dela Lund, so. But yeah, anyway. In fact, I'm talking to someone who's insane. If I'm talking to someone who's insane, does that make me insane? But anyway. So yeah, did a couple of streams. One for Angry Vet this morning and one for Chase, and what we're trying to do to set up some support for him. And that's what we've got going on. But in the meantime, while I continue to cover Chase's story and I work to set up some support for his family, I'm more interested in, and I want you to hear this, there are people in this story who are being impacted in a negative way, and that is Chase's family. Chase knew what he was getting into. He will tell you that. And I'm going to be working to help his his family in any way that I possibly can. And there again, we could disagree or even agree about whether or not Chase's tactics are good. We could talk about whether or not 10 years is fair with Chase, for Chase, with his, criminal history. Chase talks about that all the time. But his family is left in the lurch. And you could say Chase did that to him. That's what you could say. But that doesn't mean that we can't have compassion and help Chase and Chase's family. And that's what I'm really angling towards, is what can we do to help Chase's family. And so we're gonna move on to a different part of the story that I'm covering now. So I do want to cover the trial. And part of covering the trial, I did go to the courtroom last week. I did sit in for several hours and I listened to the questioning of the victim. His name is Richard Paquin, and I use victim in air quotes. The victim, Richard Paquin, boy, he really did sell it about how injured he was and how terrified he was that he was going to lose his life, and how he had a bruise and he was injured because Chase pushed him one time. And I wonder if Richard Paquin's victim got as much sympathy as Richard Paquin wanted us to have for him while he was testifying against Chase. But I sat in there for that. I sat in there for the cross-examination and the redirect and the recross. And I was very impressed with Chase's attorney. The jury was actually showing some visible signs of not caring for the victim, but Chase lost. But I want to cover the trial, and that means getting the transcripts. So the person who is a volunteer researcher and does great work on digging up things for me, reached out to the courts in Olmsted County, the Olmsted County District Court, and that researcher waited very patiently all day for the district courts to get back to them. And hey, there's 31 of you in here. Thank you very much, folks, for stopping in. I hope that you will hit the like button. You can hit you could dislike the video too, to be quite frank. And anything that you do drives traffic, so I appreciate it, especially comments. But she reached out to my researcher. She reached out to the district courts, and they got back to her yesterday and told her that if she wants the entire transcript of the week worth of court, just the week's worth of court, it's going to be $7,500. 7,000. Let me say this again. $7,500 for a week's worth of transcripts. Now, I'm not asking you guys to give me that money. I am not, no way, shape, or form, not asking for that at all. That's not why I'm doing this stream. But I want you to hear that number. That's 7,500.00 American dollars. 7,500 fiat currency bills. 7.5K for them to print out the transcripts. Now, we can talk all day long, and as many of you know, I use the term accountability activist. We could talk about accountability all day long. We could talk about activism all day long. And we could tell people you need to go file, and I use FOIA in here. And not because it's actually FOIA. FOIA is federal law, okay? So FOIA is Freedom of Information Act. And so that act is federal. That regards federal data, okay? That regards federal data. But nearly every state, I cannot think of a state that I've researched so far, nearly every state has a state-level version of FOIA. Minnesota, it's called Data Practices Requests. Now, the problem with Data Practices Requests in Minnesota is that it's left up to the agency that you're requesting the data from to determine how much you have to pay for the data. Now, like I've done a few data practices requests to my city as of late, the city that I live in. They didn't charge me anything. They just sent me an email and said, here's the information you were looking for. And they did it very quickly. And if you watched the address that I did to the city council 2 weeks ago, I told the city clerk, like, thank you, you were Johnny on the spot. That was really quick. I really appreciate it. But they charged me nothing for that. But then a couple of days after I spoke at the city council meeting, they sent me another letter about the chickens. Trying to take... They want me to get permission to have the Freedom Flock. But yeah, anyway. So in Minnesota, the agency you're trying to get data from can determine how much that data will cost you to get. And some of that's based on hours needed to research it, hours needed to collect it, hours needed to do any redactions. It can be based on the hourly rate. It can be based on the amount of materials, and on and on and on. And so in the state of Minnesota, as Chad said, it needs to be a reasonable amount for what they do. The judicial branch is different than the executive branch for requests. Yes, absolutely, 100% agree with that. But it still needs to be reasonable. And I'm not denying that the court transcripts are probably going to have a massive amount of paper involved, printout involved. We don't even need it on paper. We'll take the transcripts in PDF form, which that takes up no space. That doesn't take up any paper. They're already going to exist in PDF form. There shouldn't even need to be any redactions done. And I believe, as somebody else said, that a price of $7,500 for last week's court proceedings regarding Chase Johnston's case, state of Minnesota versus Chase Johnston. I believe that the $7,500 is meant to do one thing and one thing only: price you out of your rights. If the data practices requests in the state of Minnesota say you have every right to view these records, but you have to pay whatever the agency determines, and in this case, judicial branch of the state of Minnesota, they can do whatever the hell they want to do. Who are you going to fight that with? They can just charge you $7,500 for court transcripts. That price is the normal person, and I don't care who you are, nobody that I have in my life has $7,500 sitting around to be able to get access to data that should belong to we the people. It's a ridiculous hurdle for any human being to have to jump. To have to jump through that hoop is exclusionary and intimidating and an automatic violation of the responsibility of the state. And you guys all know how I use the state. I hate saying government. It's a violation of the responsibility of the state to be accountable and accessible to even the most financially insecure people out there. Can you imagine being the family member of someone who's a victim of an actual criminal, and you decide that you want to help this family member comb through these transcripts to maybe build up a civil case against the person who victimized them? That's a really good question, Snarky. Really good question. I wonder if we can do that. Huh. That's got me thinking. So you're this low income, barely making it, barely scraping together. You're kind of like me, and you're trying to help a family member get these transcripts from this, let's say it's a week-long trial, just like what just took place last week. And you go in and you fill out the paperwork, or you make the official request, and they say $7,500 for you to get those transcripts. What are you going to do? You're out of luck. The only thing you could do is you could go and hire an attorney, and then the attorney could hopefully get them, but the attorney's they don't give these things to attorneys for free. People don't understand that just because you're an attorney doesn't mean you get that stuff for free. Transcripts aren't evidence per se. They could be if you're filing for a mistrial, but the general public, this is this case, no matter which side you fall on this, whether you're pro-Chase or anti-Chase, whether you're pro-pedo Paquin or anti-pedo Paquin, whether you're a law and order at all cost type and you believe that Chase deserved this, or you are a ACAB type and you believe that Chase was doing the job that that clearly law enforcement in the area is not doing nearly as much as they should be doing, because if you know anything about Chase caught a deputy in May of 2022 from the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office, a guy that I worked with for 12 and a half years. When you look at me stealing, I don't know what that means, but anyway, thank you. When you pay attention to what Chase did in busting that deputy, they did nothing about that deputy when Chase turned him over, and Chase did everything. He didn't confront him, he didn't yell and scream at him, he didn't freak out on him. He just got video of the deputy showing up to the prearranged meeting place, and he turned all of that over Yeah, exactly, the urban conservative. Chase busted this deputy, and I think that all of this is retaliation. Now, did Chase give him firewood to, or kindling to start the fire? Yeah, to some degree he did, and he and I have talked about that countless times. Trust me, no one has held Chase's feet to the fire about this more than I have. I told him countless times, Chase, you got to rein it in. But when he turned in Deputy Matt Adamson to the Rochester, Minnesota Police Department, and they notified Sheriff Kevin Torgerson, who was the boss at the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office, Chase put a target on his back for catching that deputy. And they could have stopped him, and they didn't, and they got embarrassed when he got arrested last year in November. They embarrassed the Sheriff's Office, they embarrassed the Rochester Police Department, and it embarrassed Mark Ostrom, the Olmsted County Attorney. And that's why they went after Chase. And I'm not telling you that they won't tell anybody else it's $7,500. I want you to hear this. I am not saying there's a conspiracy to deprive me or the person who's functioning as my researcher of our ability to see these court records. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's a conspiracy to do that. What I am saying, what I do believe to be very true, is that the courts, the Minnesota court system works to price the average human being seeking to redress their grievances out of the ability to redress their grievances, because more often than not, it is almost, I want to say this, the only way that anybody can be fully made aware of what is going on in the courts is to go through transcripts. Reporters do not do a good job of covering entire trials, and they're not allowed in most cases. Every time you go into a courtroom now, per the rules of the court, not a law, per the rules of the court, it is unlawful. Recording is, how do they say it? It's not even unlawful. Per the rules of the court, recording with electronic devices is not allowed and will be dealt with via contempt of court proceedings. And the thing with contempt of court is that there's no appealing contempt of court. The judge just holds you in contempt. There's no trial, there's no jury, there's no charge for it. It's just the judge orders you be held in contempt, and they can hold you in contempt for a day, they can hold you in contempt for 2 days, they can hold you in contempt for 30, 40, 50, 60 days. However bad you piss off the judge, they can just hold you in contempt. So if you walk in the interest of public awareness, you walk in the interest of full disclosure and accountability, and you record in a courtroom, and you take those recordings and you release them, which is the only way anybody would know that you're recording, you could be arrested on contempt and thrown in jail until you do your repentance work, until the judge has decided you have had enough. So how in the world is the average person supposed to be able to do any kind of accountability work? How is the average person supposed to be able to dig into any of these cases to find out what was really said, to find out what really happened, to maybe help somebody figure out what to do? To fight a case. Just let that sink in. $7,500 flipping dollars to get court transcripts. I don't care who you are. I don't care what side of this argument you are on. That should tell you everything that you need to know about just how little the state is interested in transparency and accountability. Now, what we did get told was if Mr. Johnston files an appeal, once that process is done, then you can have the transcripts for free. And that right there is enough to push this out far enough that it's not going to matter what we find. It's not going to matter. Like, I want you guys to hear what was said in that courtroom. Hey STD, I'm sorry that you're having a rough day. If there's something I can do, or if there's anything that you need, just reach out and let me know. Even if it's just to have somebody to vent to. I mean that. Be well. Be free. But by the time Chase makes a decision to appeal, and an appeal gets filed, and it actually gets in front of an appellate judge, whatever work we're able to do in exposing what actually went on in that courtroom, to hear the things that were said, with the attention span that people have in the United States today, that it'll have gone out the window. Now, I don't plan on losing attention. I'm going to keep shining the light on this case. I'm going to keep shining the light on this situation, like I'm shining the light on other cases and other situations. I'm going to continue to cover Trooper Shane Roper. I'm going to try and when he goes to trial, I'm going to try and take that time off to be there for his trial. I'm trying to be in the courtroom every day for that. I'm going to try and take the time off to go to Chase's sentencing. But there was another Minnesota State trooper that was involved in an accident in Rochester last week, and I talked about that already a little, and we still haven't received any information. And like I said last week, the longer that it goes without RPD that appears to be investigating this accident, and it's a very minor accident, there were some injuries, but nothing like too severe. But the longer we go without any type of response from the investigating agency, the more likely it is that we're going to find out that there's a lot more culpability and responsibility on the part of the state trooper last week. And all of these things they just move on, and people forget. And that's why they do what they do. That's why they price things at $7,500. That's why they wait so long with their investigations. They get people to forget. They get you to just move on, to think that nothing matters. And so, like I said, if some rich benefactor wants to be my accountability sugar daddy or sugar mama, and they want to fork out the $7,500 for the transcripts, I'm not going to argue with you, but that's not what I'm asking for. But what I'm asking for is, why are my chickens out? That's what I want to know. How did they get out? What are you guys doing out? That's ridiculous. Sorry. They want us to move on and forget and give up. That's all they want. So, yeah. Be looking for a live stream popping up on my channel a little bit before 8 o'clock for a conversation on the show that I co-host with Mike Skipper Arthur on Veteran Nation. I think we're going to live stream that over here tonight. And pay attention to Chase's story and developing news there, and some other developing stories that we're working on. And until next time, my friends, Sic Semper. Oh, and by the way, thank you for tuning in. Yes, Snarky, it is the Freedom Flock, but they don't have my permission to be free when I'm not home. So I really appreciate all of you guys. And I have some new channel members who signed up in the last couple of days. I thank you very much for that. And if I can't see you guys between now and Sunday, channel members especially, I look forward to seeing you for our live stream chat for channel members. So until next time, my friends, Sic Semper Tyrannis.